This man found something weird on his way home. He just touched a guy passing by. His mind went to the fact that the guy seemed to have kidnapped a couple of girls, and the hiding place was a dilapidated building. This made him stop in his tracks, looking at the arrogant back of the other side. He wondered if his feeling was wrong. At this time Jeff's son suddenly called, said that there was really a case of a missing girl in the past few days, and the investigation has been a long time and there are still no clues. It turns out that Jeff has a special skill. Whenever he touches someone, he can sense their past. In addition, Jeff's physique is extraordinary. He was physically unharmed even after the attack. As for the man who hit him a few seconds ago, he was a young man named Dick. Because of his father's death at a young age, he was also beaten by his mother, so he was forced to develop 24 personalities to protect himself. The scary thing is that these personalities can choose to sleep or wake up according to Dick's needs, and the most frightening of all is his monster personality. What Jeff had just encountered was only Dick's teenage personality. Jeff then followed his fantasized image all the way to the crappy building where the girls were being held. In the spirit of doing good deeds without leaving a name, Jeff covered their faces before he untied them. But as soon as he unchained the last one, he heard a strange, chilling sound coming from inside the building. A man was also approaching quickly from the beams of the building, until he jumped down. That's when he realized he was Dick the monster. Good thing Jeff locked the steel table in time. After directing the girl to escape, the table was thrown back. Seeing that Dick had gone into a rampage, Jeff rushed over and pinned him to the wall. After covering several girls to retreat safely, that's when he focused on fighting Dick. Although both of them are superhuman with special abilities, but due to the lack of systematic combat training, so the way they fought was very primitive. Jeff saw that it's not a good idea to keep on fighting, so he chose to take Dick with him and fell downstairs through the window. After regaining his strength, when they were about to fight again, they were stopped by an agent who arrived just in time. Out of a childhood fear of light, Dick's personality shifted in an instant to a state of weakness and powerlessness. His strength and viciousness disappeared. He cried out for the agents to spare him. Under the heavy siege of the agents, Jeff had no choice but to surrender. Although he had always been committed to helping civilians, but his actions were too individualistic. He's never been able to escape justice. The police department had been aware of him for some time, but strangely enough, the agents didn't lock them up and transferred them to an insane asylum. When Dickie was a child, his mom took it out on her all the time. Helpless, Dick hid in the shadows, but his mom's flashlight found him every time. This led to a deep fear of bright light, so a large number of hernia headlights were placed in the area where he was being held. As for Jeff, he nearly suffocated in a swimming pool as a child, so he was settled into a room covered with sprinklers. These arrangements were made by Professor Daisy. She's a longtime explorer of specific mental illnesses. She thought the two men would make a good research sample. Doctors find bizarre things when they see patients, because the patient's eyes were glazed over and seemed to be hiding something. She tried to communicate with the man's mind, but she couldn't get any answer. Daisy couldn't figure it out, while the man on the other side is planning an operation. After John disposes of the man in front of him, he first entered Dick's house. He looked at Dickie with a wary expression. John simply told him not to fall under Daisy's spell, because there really are supermen, and Dick was one of them. And if it hadn't been for John's sudden visit, Dick would have had a change of heart by now, and sealed the monster's personality away forever. It turns out that John said that after today the city would be holding an opening for the building. If Dick can show up in time for that, he'd have a lot of people believing in him, and Dick was so grateful for that, and he said yes to John. John turned out all the lights in the house for him. This act not only freed Dick, and unleashed the monster in him. Looking at Dick's spider-like figure, John was shocked and delighted. Now he's sure that Dick is superpowered. Then he told him he was going to save Jeff, and reminds Dick to be at the building tomorrow for the fight of the century with Jeff. It's the only way they'll get any attention. After that, John went to the control room to look for Jeff, said he'd gotten him out of the sprinkler threat, but Jeff was also under Daisy's spell. He's not even in the right frame of mind. John said to him, tomorrow Dick will head for the building with the most tourists. He'll play a game with everyone's lives. If Jeff's sense of justice is still intact, he's got to get there and stop it or there will be consequences. Jeff's sense of justice kept pulling him back to reality, and then he sprinted towards the heavy steel door. The impact left a huge dent in the door's surface. Jeff slammed it again with all his might. This jack-iron door came right down, while at the same time John fled with Dick in disguise. By the time Daisy found out, all she saw was the workman who wasn't breathing, and the note that John had left for her. Then Daisy noticed the news of the building's opening on the screen. She immediately contacted the police. The local police department was sent to stop Dick. He then overpowered the two agents by force. It wasn't long before Jeff arrived on the scene. Dick unleashed his full power. It looked like he was going to have a duel with Jeff, while the two were fighting. The special forces team also joined the duel, but their power is not enough to do any damage in front of the superpowered people. Jeff had no choice but to lock them up, and dragged a metal bar to seal the container. As for the other few who escaped, became Dick's sandbags. It's going to be hard to tell which one of them is going to win. John rushes over to Dick's side. He pointed to the giant water barrel in the clearing. He revealed that Jeff's weakness was water, but before Dick could make his move, Jeff's son suddenly appeared on the scene. He stepped between his father and Dick. He told Dick the truth. It turns out that Jeff's son, after some investigation, he found that the accidental high-speed train that his father Jeff had traveled on, there was another passenger on it. That was Dick's father. That's why he's the way he is. It's all because of this John right here. He's the one who ruined Dick's happy life. Dick was furious at what he said, but John was in a state of delirium. He didn't repent and even emphasized it was the only way to find the two superpowered people. The out-of-control Dickie retaliated against John on the spot. Even Jeff was caught off guard by his sneak attack. He threw him right into the bucket. The bucket wasn't very strong. Jeff punched a big hole in it with a little force. As the bucket broke, Jeff managed to escape. As Dick's state of mind grew more and more frenzied, Ellie took a chance and grabbed him by the wrist and take him into her arms. And under the power of the marvelous love, Dick's normal personality returned. But before the two of them could rejoice, the agent attacked Dick. Without the support of his monster personality, Dick was unable to resist. In the final moments of his life, the personalities in Dick's body appeared one after another. After expressing his life like a helpless boy, he stopped breathing. At the same time, Jeff was under the agent's control. He's constantly being subjected to the water gun. He saw Daisy walking towards him and pretended to save her. The moment their hands touched, Jeff saw Daisy's past. It turned out that Daisy was not a professor. There is an undisclosed power behind her. The clover tattoo on her hand is the design of this organization. In fact, Daisy has always been aware of the existence of superhumans. This is the goal of the organization behind her. It's the goal of the organization behind her to make the so-called superhumans disappear. In their view, the world belongs to mortals. If there are people above them, they must be eliminated. But at first, they didn't want the three dead. They wanted to restore them to normal through surgery. But when John interfered, the plan was foiled. That's when the purge of superpowered people began. As the dust settled, Daisy was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. But she never realized John's trip to the building was just a diversion. His real purpose was to use Daisy to stop the two in front of the asylum. And he modified the camera configuration so that the surveillance footage could be transmitted to the outside world. And then someone else posted the video online. So Dick overturned the agent's vehicle. Jeff was able to lock the Special Forces agent in a shipping container. The truth was revealed to the world overnight. Everyone learned about the existence of superpowered people. John's vision was finally realized, just as he had seen in the history of comics when he was a child. The end of a story in a book never means the end. It's the beginning of a new phase. The first step on